Hi everyone, welcome to round 10 of the World Chess Championship 2018. Caruana as white played e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, and we have a Sveshnikov with e5. And with e5, black gains his fair share of the centre, but at the same time leaves d6 and d5 squares weak. These squares will never be defended by a black pawn again. Knight on d to b5, trying to exploit this, looking to play knight d6 check, forcing bishop takes d6, and white would gain the two bishops. So black occupies the square with a pawn. Knight d5 by Caruana. And after knight takes d5, e takes d5, white has gained space. This pawn on d5 is quite strong, but he can no longer get to this weak d6 pawn as easily. Knight b8, and what's going on here? Well, we have a pawn majority for white, 4 versus 3 on the queen side, and black has a pawn majority, 4 versus 3 on the king side. So white's plan here is to use this majority, a4, b4, c4, in particular c5 sticks out to me as a strong pawn lever. If e takes d5 you'd get a passed pawn. Black's plan is to play on the king side f5, f4, f3, e4, f3, this kind of plan, utilizing the pawn majority and getting a king side attack. And this is what both sides do. So a4, bishop e7, bishop e2, castles, castles, knight d7, b4. Quite useful to defend this c5 square for now. Maybe c4, c5 could be strong. But after a6, knight a3, the knight comes to a3 to maneuver to c4 to attack d6. a5 by Carlsen. He wants this c5 square. After b takes a5, rook takes a5, it's clear that c4, c5 is never going to work now. The c5 square is black's, and also a4 might be a bit weak now, you could say. But on the other hand, the rook is misplaced on a5. After knight c4, white gains a tempo. Rook a8, bishop e3, strong bishop for white. b6 is an outpost in the future for white. f5, a5, looking at this b6 square. f4, bishop b6, queen e8, rook to a3. Nice move. The rook not only helps on the queen side, but it also defends along the flank here. It's helping out the king as well. Queen to g6, bishop c7. Looking at this weak pawn on d6, we now have two attackers on this pawn. e4 by Carlsen, threatening to play f3, and g takes f3 is impossible because the g pawn is pinned. So king h1, getting out of the pin. b5 by Carlsen. Carlsen just wants to get rid of this strong knight on c4 because it not only attacks this pawn but also defends squares like e3. It's ready to jump back to help the king after, say, f3. Knight e3 could come. So Carlsen just wants rid of this knight. And the point is, if a takes b6, rook takes a3, knight takes a3, the knight is misplaced on a3 momentarily. But it is enough. f3 can be played by black here. G takes f3, and now knight to e5. Key point, the knight is not there on c4 to take on e5. White's got quite a hard task defending here. So, instead after b5, knight to b6 by Caruana. But we get this strong knight off the board, and now d6 is not really weak at all anymore without the knight to attack it. And Carlsen exerts pressure on the now weakish d5 pawn. And here, maybe Caruana should have just taken this pawn on b5. Sure, after rook f6, the king does look a bit ropey, but there's nothing concrete. White isn't getting mated here. And after queen to g5, white played g3. But now b4, get that pawn off this b5 square where it is attacked. Rook b3, bishop h3. Yeah, getting some tempi here. Rook g1, f3, pushing further forward. Black's position is becoming quite good, I think. It certainly looks ropey around the light squares for white. And believe it or not, bishop b5 is quite a good move here for white. And yes, this seems pretty good. or it seems better than the game, because now bishop g2 seems natural, winning an exchange. But in this position, white is actually doing really well because of this passed a pawn. It's going to push forward. Bishop c6 is coming. It's the two bishops working together harmoniously, and yeah, the queen and square is well within reach. This is very strong for white. But after f3, bishop f1, the light squared bishops came off, and now this a pawn is never going to promote, since the queen and square is light and the bishop is on a dark square. And now Carlsen took the pawn on d5. It doesn't look quite good for Carlsen here. Rook takes b4, queen e6, rook b5, and now bishop d8 by Carlsen, trading bishops. Perhaps there's something to be said for just rook on f to c8. This looks quite natural and strong. Queen b1, rook c4. It's such a strong rook on c4, attacking this pawn on c2. Yes, white still got this passed pawn, but this pawn looks weak, and black's got a big central majority here as well. But anyway, after bishop d8, we have bishop trade. Rook on a b8, queen e3, queen c4, strong square for the queen, rook b2, and now rook to b7 by black. He does not want this b pawn pushing any further, and he's making sure it isn't going to. But it's still a strong pawn. The rook's stuck on b7 now. Rook d1, queen e2 by Carlsen, quite aggressive here. His idea is if queen takes e2, f takes e2, rook to e1, rook takes f2, winning this pawn. King g1, and now e3. And this would be very good for black. So after queen e2, rook to e1, queen takes e3, rook takes e3. Yep, black's still got this central majority, but this b pawn is so strong. d5 by Carlsen. c4 immediately looks very attractive for black. Nice pawn lever, but there's back rank issues. Rook c8 would be really strong. Sorry, c4 seems very strong for white, I meant before. Yeah, but here rook c8 is really strong, because the c takes d5, mate on c1. After rook e1, rook takes e1 mate. So after d5, h4 by white, and now c4 is a strong threat. So rook c8 preventing c4, rook a3, and now, yeah, Caruana is going to mix defending this pawn and attacking the pawn at the base here. Attack the pawn chain at the base, and it's quite strong. Here, the b pawn has sufficient defense, and it's not so easy for black. King d4, and now rook to b5, and this pawn, it's just so weak, and you've still got ideas of c4 potentially. Attack the pawn chain at its base, and these pawns, they're just going to disappear. The once strong center seems to be very weak now. Rook to d6 by Carlsen. And Carlsen had to allow Caruana to go ahead with this strong plan of c4 here, and allow him to win a pawn. But the point is, white's got 3 pawns against 2, but the pawns are all on the same side of the board, and that makes this endgame drawn. White can push forward here, but eventually the pawns will just get traded, and it's just not enough with the pawns on the same side of the board. So here the players agreed to draw, which I think is fair enough. So thank you very much for watching.